Hey, before this video starts, I'd like to thank you all for over 30 subscribers. I know this is quite late, but I never thought I'd get here in a matter of 2 months. Thank you all, and I'm sorry if I do sound a little sick in this video, because I'm a little sick when I was recording this, and I hope you guys all enjoy and have a nice rest of your day. All right, enjoy the video. Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today we're doing if a certain country over here, which is my first ever superpower, forms an empire video, but it will be China for this video. China is a very interesting country as it is one of the last communist countries in the world and is the world's second largest superpower. All their neighbors around them are either other superpowers or have good relations with them, like North Korea, Russia, which is another superpower, Pakistan. Pretty sure Vietnam has good relations with them, other than this area over here in the South China Sea. I don't know about Afghanistan or any of the stands like Kyrgyzstan or Tajikistan or I don't know, but like Kazakhstan, I don't know any of them. I'm pretty sure Mongolia doesn't really have that good of terms. I know these two hate him. I don't know if Hong Kong's independent. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Well, everything I find says no or yes. So for this video, they're gonna keep them independent so we can have China commit some atrocities along the way. Alright, so the year is 2030. It's been a few years. Russia has lost the Ukrainian war and has been given a true democracy this time and will not be helping China out in this, video as, China and Russia now have very terrible relations after Russia lost the war in Ukraine. After a few years, China has stopped really liking North Korea as they're quite a weak barrier from China in the West. Well, in this point, the East, but we're going to still call them the West because that's what they pretty much are called. And the West, which is South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, which is supposed to be underneath Chinese rule, Australia, the Philippines, and so they decide to attack North Korea as they see it as a worthless state in between them and South Korea. With naval power being brought into this war and China having a way better, superior navy over, our beautiful friend over here, North Korea, definitely our friend, no lie, China starts taking over a lot of North Korea's naval capabilities, wiping it almost all out. That's what's happened. Wiping it almost all out in an instantaneous blow. As well, again, North Korea has a pretty weak navy. With Chinese troops starting to slowly push into North Korea, as of course, again, China has stronger military, they start to push in down here in this little southern region, while the north is merely a stalemate because China does not really see this area as, a main capability area. They also make multiple landings with one right here, and they cannot go to the other side because Russia's little thing right here snatching up the coastline, and this is mainly all controlled by Japan and South Korea, and they don't really want to fight them right now. Making two landings over here and continuing to push down the North Korean peninsula, they finally start pushing troops into this northern region. With cutting through, wiping out cutting out some North Korean troops up here in this northern region. In this northern region, and continuing to do encircle movements and slowly pushing in, making most of them have to push out with their little naval capabilities they have left. With the naval capabilities being on North Korea's side on the other side of the Korean Peninsula, because China can't really get any ships over there, they have been really going well, making a lot of escapes and losing a bunch of. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And so all these troops make an evacuation and start to head down into the more southern regions. With North Korea starting to lose this battle, the West sees something that they probably could do. The West joins the side. Doesn't join their side. South Korea joins against North Korea, but does not sign any treaties at all with China because they still don't like China, and starting to push troops in because they want to take a bunch of land from China getting its hands on it, and so they continue the push and China sees what's going on, of course, so they try to encircle the South Korean troops to stop them from taking all the land. As the invasion force from the South creates a spearhead and the North creates another spearhead, as the two armies meet up and the entire North Korean people, of course, surrender to the two countries. That's not supposed to happen. and peace negotiations would soon start between the two countries. Let's see how those end out. With the war being over and North Korea being annexed by both South Korea and China, the Korean Peninsula is pretty much united under one Korea at least, while China continues to annex its northern half and all the land it took, taking Pyongyang. Sorry, I don't know how to say it. It's a hard name to say. And so China starts looking around at its other neighbors as they want to continue expanding their communist influence, and they look towards the province of the beautiful Hong Kong. As the Chinese troops start to slowly push into the city, taking most of the waterways, and we all know this. Yeah, yeah, just gonna do just yeah. They didn't stand a chance. And so continuing to look at its other neighbors, it looks towards one of its larger neighbors, which is Mongolia. Well, I don't know if this would activate anything over here in the west, over here with, like, if Japan or South Korea or Mongolia will get involved, but in this video they will not be getting involved in this conflict. With Chinese troops starting to slowly push into the country, because they think, well, this is supposed to be China's area, because of course that's all Chinese think. A large push starts over here in the big, ginormous desert, the Gobi Desert. There it is, pushing in through the Gobi Desert and pushing in all the way from over here. They did not push from this other side, as it's going to be quite hard to get troops through here, as out here is just barren wasteland, because at least they've got cities over here and probably a few on the border right here, but not over here, definitely not over here. And so troops slowly push over here, with Mongolian troops getting a small advantage and pushing through, taking a bunch of the Chinese area, as well as taking back some of their old territory up here. Chinese troops, of course, not liking this push into their territory, with the Chinese government's paying some rebel groups up here to start to get their revolution on, and would help the Chinese army push through, taking back all their old territory. And after they would do that, they would start another push up here, wiping out, the threat of Mongolian troops inside of China. And so with Mongolia starting to see that they probably won't win this war, they have to start thinking of unique techniques to start to beat out the Chinese Navy. No, not Chinese Army, sorry. Alright, as troops continue to push through, they do two large spearheads over here, wiping out a large area, and slowly starting to push in like a snake in Slither, until the entire area is forced to capitulate, and the country will be split into two while they start to touch Russia. A spearhead starts towards the capital, but soon will be met with fierce resistance, and so a separate army goes and cuts out a lot more territory, as well as up here, as China is not stupid and is quite smart, wiping out one of the territory's armies quickly and the other one as well quite quickly. Another spearhead is created, but it's not as big as the other ones, and just wipe out more territory. As the troops start to push through, the capital is soon surrounded by Chinese troops, and China starts to just take over a lot of territories because of how small Mongolia's population is compared to the great communist China. The fall of the capital, the country starts to fall apart until the entire country is forced to capitulate to the Chinese army. Full annexation would soon be done, as China wanted all of Mongolia to be a part of their empire. China, now being the world's strongest superpower because of the boost in GDP and, of course, population, they start to threaten the West, and, of course, the West would not be taking that. So after a few more threats on TV, the West declare war, with South Korea starting this declaration, and Taiwan joining later. And, of course, their agreements with Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea, Japan decides to join in. The United States will not be joining this war, as they think that this was made by their allies in a attempt to stop Russia, attempt to stop China. I'm really messing up today. The Philippines also planned to join, as they wanted to get more naval territory out of the South China Sea. let's see how this war will go. Naval lines are instantly set up as the two countries think that, well, the naval territory should be theirs, and so China would be the first country to be the first naval force to push through, taking some naval territories. Down here in the South China Sea, they would take a bunch of territory from the Philippines, and slowly and surely would touch the Philippine island. Forgot to fix it later. Would finally touch the Philippine Islands and would start a small invasion force. Let's see how this will go. With some islands over here in the Philippines being taken and some landings happening over here in the, well, Philippines Isle, China makes another naval plan as they want to push into Taiwan's naval borders, and so they would slowly push towards wiping out a bunch of navies in the process and fully surrounding Taiwan, capturing one of the islands and surrounding it, having naval areas near to Taiwan for a naval landing. They would also try to support their naval expansion by wiping out a few Japanese islands to turn them into Chinese naval bases for repairs and refueling. The first naval landings happening down here in the south and the Middle Eastern areas, they would start to get pushed up and invaded, ripping out a bunch of areas up along the way and pushing up north towards the capital city of the Taiwan Republic of China, whatever you want to call it, until the entire country is forced to capitulate as they fully get captured by the Chinese military. Some countries were getting quite bored of this war because they were not getting that much involved, and some countries would start to drop out. And one of the first countries to do so would be a pretty obvious one. Yeah. Japan, not wanting to lose any territory, would instantly drop out of the war, meaning that they would lose all their naval territory, as it would soon not be of interest of them to fight alongside of their allies, as they did not want to be defeated by the Russian army. And so that all the naval territory, as also they would have to sign a peace treaty with, well, China, losing these islands over here as they were captured by China during the war. And so losing the naval territory of Japan's quite strong navy, the Allies are kind of screwed by this moment of time. After a few peace negotiations, well, not peaceful negotiations, it was definitely not peaceful, it was quite graphic. After a few talks, South Korea was trying to get out of the war, but China had told them that they were already kind of screwed from declaring war. A few days later, the entire island over here would be captured, and Chinese troops would continue up the peninsula. They'll continue across the waters to try to attack the peninsula, occupying a few Japanese islands along the way, until almost fully wiping out their naval capabilities. Well, South Korea's naval capabilities at least, making two landings down here, which were quite large, and one over here, trying to push towards Seoul. As well as all this is happening, Chinese troops are starting to push over through the border, and after a few days, Seoul would be captured as the army would continue down the peninsula. After a few days, South Korea would fully capitulate, meaning they would have lost the war, while over here the Philippines would continue to fight for their freedom. As well as all this is happening, the armies could start to push through into the Philippines, and so the Philippines are soon forced to capitulate, but they would not have the same losses as Korea did. Let's see this peace treaty, shall we? As all of South Korea and Taiwan would both be fully annexed, Japan would lose this little southern island in the war, as well as the Philippines would lose these two top islands and this small little island right here, as they would have to be taken over for China to have full naval control over the area. After the full annexation of all these countries, China starts looking around for an ally that they would need, because they had no allies at this point of time. And they would find a very unlikely ally inside of India. India wanted to expand just like China is, and would soon start to expand to multiple other countries with the military supplies of Chinese weaponry. India has agreed to become a communist country and will also help China in any of its wars and will not ask for land, as so is China. And the first country the two would invade is Nepal. Now I know what you're thinking. Nepal is very mountainous, isn't it? It very much is, which is why they would start to use China's superior air force to its advantage, as paratroopers would start to land all over the area, as well as Indian paratroopers also landing all over Nepal, as they would have to get over these large mountains. The main island, Mount Everest, would soon just be closed because of Indian troops. And so the armies start to spread out, taking a bunch of areas and small towns as they go. And so the armies start to meet up. Again, China would not be taking any land in this war, as they would just be helping India out so they can grab an ally for themselves. Continuing to expand and grabbing a bunch of their paratrooped troops to combine into a single army force. As the entire army starts to push around Nepal, Nepal is slowly stuck in one little area and is starting to slowly get pushed out. As the paratroopers start to continue to meet up, a few paratrooping forces will start to see that it will not be as easy, as they would both collapse. This one. The two paratroop forces would collapse, and Nepal's army would start to fight back, pushing through the Chinese line, and it would probably start to push into China. But China would stop them there, and Indian forces would continue to push until they could fully push them into a small circle, cutting off all Chinese troops from entering into the battle, and all of Nepal falls. Of course, this peace treaty would have a full annexation of Nepal and India. With the falling of Nepal, a few countries would start to think of joining this new empire, and Bangladesh and Bhutan would go out without a fight, meaning that I would not have to cover those wars either, as they would simply give up and join India in its great empire state. Another country that would soon join after India's annexed these two countries is Sri Lanka, because of India threatening their naval coastline. And so the countries that India would take next were, I forgot your name. I'll get you back. I forgot this one's name. Oh, wait one sec. This one's name. I forgot this one's name. I know Pakistan. Everybody knows Pakistan. They want Pakistan and this country over here. Oh wait, they control these islands. Shoot. Yeah, they control these. I forgot they control these. And so, over a few spans of years, they would start to get more power in these two countries. Okay, this video is not about India, it is about China, and China starts looking down here in these countries over here. And we all know these countries. There's Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. And the first country they would declare war on is Vietnam. Vietnam will be declared on December 13th, 2032. Because remember, this video started in 2030. And their two allies would help them out, forming a union that would bind the countries together in harmony. And this would never happen in real life, but I want to do it because we need a strong power to fight China. And so this new union down here would also have a large impact on this incoming war. This union would face a threat to China, and so Chinese troops instantly start to push in. Chinese troops would be a big help in this war, as also India will not be helping, as India has to deal with Pakistan. And I'll be back. I'm getting this country's name real quick. I'll be back. Myanmar. They're having problems with Myanmar. Having problems with Myanmar and Pakistan. I did it. Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and of course Thailand. And Malaysia, but no one talks about Malaysia or Singapore. Who are you? I forgot this country's name. They're that small. Brunei? Yeah, it's Brunei. Okay, now we're talking about southwest countries. No, southeast countries, sorry. Southeast countries, okay, got it. And so, sorry, I was thinking Chinese troops start to continue to push into this little union they have going on here. This union had really no naval territory, and so China just snatched all that up instantaneously. A big cut through wipes out this large area. This capital of this union is also. Oh, you saw nothing. If you saw something, you're crazy. This union's capital is right here. And so China will start to make a few naval invasions across the coast. But of course, Vietnam is not an easy place to invade. Cough, cough, United States, Vietnam War. Yeah, but pushing through their neighbor Thailand, pushing through the neighbor of Thailand into Cambodian territory, as well. Thailand had really no choice but to help China. And so it continued push with these two armies meeting, pushing towards the capital. Soon, in a matter of days, the capital would soon be surrounded, and a lot of armies would start to get wiped out instantly. A spearhead cutting off this large area, and until the entire area is captured, unless it was this small capital. The capital would soon be engulfed, and the entire country is forced to capitulate to the Chinese forces. With China fully annexing this new country, and India has had their troubles with the past, and they finally got everything sorted out with their territories fully annexing Pakistan after a small brutal war that will not be covered in this video, but probably a different video. And Myanmar will just surrender to the greater Indian force, with India capturing all the large cities and putting up their great communist Indian flag. India and China have become the powerhouses of the world, bigger than the United States. Even if the United States was like 10 times her original, if the United States was like 3 times of herself, she still wouldn't be bigger than these two combined. With Laos seeing what was going on, she starts talking to her neighbors to try to get a union set up, but everybody knows what happens with unions, and they would not. With this thing happening, Thailand. Thailand would soon have a small little invasion force, as they would be declared war on by the two empires of the world. With India and China moving through, small mess up. Chinese troops instantly start to push in, as they have a lot of land, as well as naval territory, making some naval landings, as well as continuing their expansion, as well as Indian troops also starting to slowly push in, and really pushing down this peninsula quite quickly, actually, because most of this area is pretty pathetic, until the territory is wiped out. And so the troops start to push through, and India and China come to a meeting and have decided to split the country between themselves. China sets up the line, and the country starts to continue to fall. As everything starts to get captured, until this entire area falls, as well, the country just gets forced to capitulate. This peace treaty will just see the country get split into two, with China fully annexing its section and India taking all this little peninsula area, but making a puppet state out of the other Laos areas. As not Laos, sorry, I keep saying Laos. Thailand, into a puppet state, as China and India would have continued good relations until the end of time. Well, until both these empires collapsed because of their diversity, which made the Ottomans and Austria-Hungary collapse during World War I. Before this video ends, China will have one more war to fight, and that is a war against Russia. China did not want that much of Russia, actually, as they only wanted a few bits of it. And so Chinese troops would instantly start to push into the areas that the Chinese emperor wanted. Well, not emperor, but, communist leader wanted. And so, over a small period, they would start to push in with troops until they grabbed a large amount of force and just started to skyrocket through. The reason they had declared war on Russia in the first place is because the Russian leader, remember earlier on this video, I said this is 2030 and Russia lost the Russian-Ukrainian war, making Russia into a full democratic country. and their leader had started to smack talk China, and China, of course, did not like that, and so China wanted to take some land from Russia to teach them a lesson. And so, as they continue to push through, they create a ginormous spearhead, cutting off a bigger area, giving them naval territory out here, taking a few islands and continuing down. They would soon capture a few Russian ships and use those Russian ships to terrorize. I forgot this island's name is. Will terrorize this island until they make a landing and fully take the island in a matter of a month. With the island being fully taken, and they continue to make more and more naval landings, Russia is starting to very much lose a lot of territory in this war. Russia would soon capitulate and will have these peace negotiations be signed. Let's look at these peace negotiations, shall we? China gained absolute buttloads of land out of this, grabbing of large territory, grabbing a huge chunk of Russia and a few islands. China will end their empire here, as it is still quite large. If we zoom out, If we zoom out, it is definitely a lot bigger. It's bigger than the United States. It's almost bigger than Canada. It might be bigger than Canada, actually. Who knows? But with this, the video will be ending. Thank you everybody for watching, and China will probably not last that long because of how much diversity and how even though you have a strong military and a strong government, diversity upon humans will always split countries into many parts. Again, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day and night. Thank you. Bye-bye.